Hi, good morning, guys. This is Yolette of Yahweh's Truths, and I'm here once again with the third part of the construction of the biblical sacred calendar. This calendar is 100% Bible based, that is, the King James Version of the Bible, the Protestant Bible. No apocryphal books were used, no pseudepigrahal books were used, that is, there's no use of the calendar outlined in the Book of Enoch or the Book of Jubilees, and it is also not the Zadok calendar. So this calendar is 100% Bible based, as I've been showing from part 1 and part 2 of this teaching. So I'd recommend that you go back and watch those two teachings before jumping into this one. Now in this teaching, we are going to be focusing on the leap years. How do we account for leap years on the biblical sacred calendar? So with no further ado, we will get right into it. Now, in the calculation of the Gregorian calendar, leap years occur every 4 years. This is a man-made calculation which is called intercalation. According to Britannica, intercalation is the process of adding or removing days, weeks, or months to a calendar to keep it aligned with the seasons or moon phases. So intercalating the years is deemed to be necessary, it seems to me, because man decided that it was up to them to keep the naturally occurring seasons from drifting. However, I don't see where Elohim has ever had a problem with the seasons of nature arriving right as he has scheduled them to, based on his celestial timepiece, which is the sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, according to Royal Museum's Greenwich's article, Which Years Are Leap Years and Can You Have Leap Seconds? They say that to be a leap year, the year number must be divisible by 4, except for end-of-century years, which must be divisible by 400. This means that the year 2000 was a leap year, although 1900 was not. Now, I have found, however, that with the sacred calendar, there is no need for man to intercalate anything. Elohim set everything in motion from creation, and all we need to do is simply follow the courses of the luminaries, which naturally intercalate themselves. Reference Genesis 1:14-19, Psalm 19, 1-6, and Job 38, 31-33. And Elohim said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the 4th day. Psalm 19, 1-6. The heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. Job 38, 31-33. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? Knowest thou the ordinances of the heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? In Job 38, verse 33, the word ordinances is Strong Concordances H2708. That is the Hebrew transliteration kukah. which is described as an enactment, hence an appointment of time, space, quantity, labor, or usage, an appointed time, custom, manner, ordinance, site, or statute. So it is my firm belief that all the celestial bodies were created to circulate exactly in the time that Elohim created them to do so, and they do so according to the laws that he already built in for them to operate by. Man therefore really has no say in what Elohim has already foreordained. Additionally, I believe that he knew that we would certainly try to change times and laws, and so he ensured to place them in the heavens where we cannot truly manipulate their courses. Reference Daniel 7 verse 25. Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Now the great mathematician, astronomer, geometer, and engineer Meton of Athens observed the circulation of the celestial bodies for years. He recorded his findings and realized that every 19 years the moon phases basically reset. This eventually became known as the Metonic cycle. According to Encyclopedia Britannica's article Metonic Cycle, the Metonic cycle in chronology is a period of 19 years in which there are 235 lunations or synodic months, after which the moon's phases recur on the same days of the solar year or year of the seasons. The cycle was discovered by Meton, 432 BC, an Athenian astronomer. So the interesting thing about the Metonic cycle is that during each 19-year period, there are 7, a number of great significance throughout the Bible, 7 naturally occurring lunar leap years, which occur at 2 to 3 year intervals. Lunar leap years are those years that have 13 months, lunations, whereas regular years have 12 months. And here it is tabulated with the years and the months. So you'll see years from 1 to 19, and you will notice that year 1 has 12 months, year 2 has 12, year 3 has 13 months, then year 4 has 12, 5 has 12, year 6 has 13 months again, year 7 has 12 months, year 8 has 13 months, year 9 has 12 months, year 10 has 12 months, year 11 has 13 months, year 12 has 12 months. Year 13 has 12 months, year 14 has 13 months, year 15 has 12 months, year 16 has 12 months, year 17 has 13 months, year 18 has 12, and year 19 ends it off with a 13-month year. So what this tells me is that the Metonic cycle is not just someone's scientific research, it is what is naturally occurring. It is what Elohim set in place from creation. All Meton did was to take pen and paper and to go outside and observe the moon phases over a period of 19 years, and then afterwards realizing that after every 19 years the moon phases recur on the same dates of the months. The exact same thing happens every 19 years. So it's not just scientific research, it's what's naturally occurring. And I checked it for myself. You can go on any of those websites, Moon Giant, Time and Date, calendar.com, that has the moon phases in UTC time, that's Standard Global Time. And you compare them and you'll realize that it's not anything that anyone can say that they have monopoly over. No, it's something that Elohim set in motion from creation. Now I've noted some other interesting things about the Metonic cycle that I'd like to share here as it relates to the sacred calendar. So there are 7 leap years, that is 13-month years in every 19-year cycle. The first year will always have 12 months, and the 19th year will always have 13 months. Every 3-year grouping will always have 2 12-month years and 1 13-month year. Now there are 6 such 3-year groupings, and the final year in the cycle is the 7th. So this last year is somewhat of a reset year, that is the year that indicates that the cycle has ended and will start over again. So it's basically a Sabbath year of sorts. So what I'm talking about is that you have, when you look at it in the chart, in chart form, you have 12, 12, 13. That's the first 3 set of years. That is 1. 12, 12, 13, 2. 12, 13, 12, 3. 12, 13, 12, 4. 12, 13, 12, 5. 13, 12, 12, 6. And 1 year, one final year, a 13-month year, 7. So if you look at it, what do you get? You basically get the days of the week. So it means that the Metonic cycle is pretty much a larger view of the 7-day weekly cycle. So here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that on the Gregorian calendar, only every 19 years there are no new moons in the month of February? Yes. This phenomena is a clear indicator of when a new Metonic cycle begins. The start of this current Metonic cycle was a sacred year spanning the Gregorian years 2014 to 2015. And so the 19th year will be the sacred year spanning the Gregorian years 2032 to 2033. Therefore, the cycle will begin again in 2033 to 2034. Now here's another fun fact for you. Did you know that years do not actually have 365.25 days as the Gregorian calendar suggests? Nor do they have 364 days as the Enoch or Jubilees or Zadok calendars state. 12-month years actually have 354 or 355 days, whilst 13-month years have either 383 or 384 days total. Now what I've found is that we can split the years in the 19-year cycle into segments of 3 as we did earlier, and take the average of the total number of days in those 3-year periods. So in doing this, we will get 364 days approximately as on the Zadok, Jubilee, or Enoch calendars. So I'm going to show you here. For example, I have calculated out every single year in the current 19-year period. So in 2020 to 2021, it's actually 354 days. So that would be a 12-month year. 2021 to 2022 amounted to 384 days, and that's a 13-month year. And 2022 to 2023 had 354 days total, and that ended up being a 12-month year. This is lunar I'm speaking of, all right? These are the lunar days in each of these years, set of 3 years. So total is 1,092 days. Now, when we average that 1,092 days divided by the 3 years, how much do we get? 364 days. So you see, if you do it like this, then you will definitely see that the Enoch calendar is really just a small portion of what the full calendar is supposed to be. What they did was to take 3-year periods, just like how I showed you earlier, where each 3 sets of years will have 2 12-month years and a 13-month year. So that's what they did. And then they averaged the amount of days total in those 3 years, divided it by 3 to get 364 days per year. But going further now, I'm going to show you a table for the entire 19-year cycle. So the 3-year periods, I've tabulated it for the 3-year periods that I showed you earlier. So we have the set of 7 years, right? And then the actual total number of days in each 3-year period, and then the average of the days. So what you will find is that for the first year, it's 1094 days total actual. These are actual. I've counted them myself. And that averaged out to be 364.67 days. Second year has 1092 days. That averaged out to 364 days exactly. The third year, 1092 as well, 364 exactly. The fourth set of 3 years, 1094, that averaged out to 364.67 exactly like this, the first set. The fifth set of 3 years averaged totaled 1092, averaged out 364 exactly. The sixth set, 1092, averaged out to 364 exactly, right? So we total 6,566 days in this set of 6 sets of 3-year periods, and that averaged out to 364.22 days per year, right? So you see we're still averaging 364 days as on the Enoch calendar. But when you add that 7th year, which is that key year that I was speaking of, totaling 384 days, which is a 13-month year, you get a total of 6,940. Does that sound familiar? Yes, it does, because that is the same amount of years as the Gregorian calendar. 19 years will be 6,940 days total, and that averages out to 365.26 days. So 6,940 divided by 19 equals 365.26 days average per year as per the Gregorian calendar. So you see that this way, this calendar, the biblical sacred calendar, is superior to both the Gregorian as well as the Enoch or Jubilees or Zadok calendars. The biblical sacred calendar is a superior way of tabulating the true calendar of Yahweh Elohim. So what does all this mean? It simply and clearly means that the biblical sacred calendar's way of tabulating the months and years is indeed the way that Elohim intended for them to be tabulated. This calendar employs the sun, the moon, and the stars in its construct, which makes it superior to the Enoch, Jubilees, or Zadok calendars, as well as the Gregorian calendar, which are purely solar. It is also superior to the lunar-only calendars, as well as the lunisolar calendars, which might not also consider the role that the stars also play. The sun, the moon, and the stars are essentially Elohim's wristwatch, which he placed in the heavens on the 4th day of creation. Their cycles are true and faithful, and their witness is beyond the access or reproach of man or even Satan. Now, as much as nature tells us that 13-month years are indeed a naturally occurring phenomena, is it biblical? So in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 1 to 8, we can clearly see that 13-month years are indeed biblical. So we're going to reference Ezekiel 1 verses 1 to 3 and Ezekiel 8 verse 1. I encourage you to read all of these chapters, the full chapters for yourself in order to study this out. Ezekiel 1, 1 to 3. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Kebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity, the word of Yahweh came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans, by the river Kebar, and the hand of Yahweh was there upon him. Ezekiel 8 verse 1. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of Yahweh Elohim fell there upon me. Okay, so in these verses, we are told that Ezekiel was given prophetic instructions to lay on each side for a total number of 430 days. In Ezekiel 1 verses 1 to 3, we can note that the date that he began to receive these instructions was the 4th month of the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity. Then in Ezekiel 8 verse 1, we note that the date that he was sitting in his house, this obviously meant that he had completed the prophecy, as he was now sitting up and not lying down. So this was now the 6th month of the 6th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity. So firstly, the 2 years were consecutive, and secondly, he began in the 5th month of 1 year and ended in the 6th month of the next. Now, according to my calculations, the entire ordeal would have lasted 16 months total. So what we will do now, we will compare two charts. The first having the starting year being a 12-month year, and the second one having the starting year being a 13-month year. Okay, so we have the month count, that's the start year having 12 months, and the start and end months. So we start with 1 to 12, and then the second year would have been 1 to 7. It's supposed to be he ended in the 6th month, right? But for this one, because by right the prophecy would have lasted for 16 months, he would have ended in the 7th month. So here's what it is. He would have started in the 4th month, remember? So the first month equates, the first month that he would have started equates to the 4th month of that first year. So all the way down to 16 months. In the 9th month, he would have completed the 12th month, right? 9th month of the ordeal, he would have completed the 12th month of that first year. Then down to the 16th month, it would have ended with him sitting up in his house on the 7th month. And that's not right. But if the year was a 13-month year, when he started in the 4th month, that would have taken him 10 months into the prophetic instructions. That would have been the 13th month of the first year. Then that would have seen him at month 16 when the prophecy should end. Him sitting up in his house would have him doing that on the 6th month, during the 6th month, right? So this proves that a 13-month year is indeed biblical. It had to span a 13-month year in order for him to have begun in the 4th month and to end in the 6th month. I'm going to show you the calculations as well as to why it had to span 16 months and not 14, okay? So we can clearly see that if the starting year had 12 months, Ezekiel would have ended in the 7th month of the following year. However, if the starting year had 13 months, he would have ended in exactly the 6th month of the following year. Now, as I said earlier, I'm aware that most sources will say that the prophecy spanned 1 year and 2 months. So that is the 430 days that the prophecy would have lasted, divided by 30 days, which is the time of a prophetic month, and that will give you exactly 14 months. That is, if it should last 14 months exactly, that would be saying that you're using a calendar of exactly 12 months and every month having exactly 30 days. But as I showed you before, that is not the case because every year doesn't have exactly 12 months based on the metonic cycle that we'd explored earlier, and every month doesn't have exactly 30 days. So if we should use the biblical sacred calendar, which is an astrolunisolar calendar, we will get the correct time to be 16 months. This 16 months also allows for the time it may have taken Ezekiel to prepare his victuals as was specified by Yahweh Elohim. Now the calculations also confirm that the prophecy had to include a 13-month year and not a 12-month year at the start. So as I have been outlining from the start, the biblical sacred calendar has months being 29 or 30 days. And that's with an actual lunation of 29 and a half days. So now a 12-month year is 354 days average, and a 13-month year is 384 days average. That is 12 months has 6 months of 29 days and 6 months of 30 days, and 13-month year has 6 months of 29 days and 7 months of 30 days. So these are the base things that we need to remember to go into the calculations. So now I'm going to go into the calculations to show you how I arrive at 16 months on the biblical sacred calendar. Alright, so first we're going to test the 12-month year to start off the prophecy. So we will start with 354 days, that's a 12-month year, divided by 29.5 days, which is an actual lunation, and that will give us 12 months. So we started in the 4th month, that is Ezekiel's prophecy starting in the 4th month, and therefore we will have 3 times 29.5 equals 88.5. Now that 3 times 29.5 is because we started in the 4th month. So what we're doing is first calculating how many days would be in the first 3 months. So that would be 88.5 days. So now what we're going to do is minus the 88.5 from the total of 354, and that will give us 265.5. So the prophecy in the first part of the month, first year, would span 9 months. So out of that first 12-month year, it would be 9 months that he would have been lying on his side. So now we're also going to minus 4 days as he got the prophecy on the 4th day of the month. So the 265.5 minus 4, that leaves us with 261.5. So now we also need 6 months into the following year, but we only need 6 days into the 6th month. Because remember that he was sitting up in his house on the 6th day of the 6th month. So now we're going to have 29.5 times 6, and that equals to 177. That is the lunation times 6 equals 177. So 177 minus 23.5 will give us 153.5. So this is the amount of days that he would have been lying on his side, actual days, into the second year, the 6 months, first 6 months of the second year. So the total number of days would be now 261.5 plus the 153.5. This is the amount for the first year. This is the amount for the second year. And so total would be 415 days. Okay, so you can clearly see that the actual amount of days that this would have amounted to if the first year would have been a 12-month year is 415. But what does that mean? That means that it is clearly deficient. Ezekiel needs a clear 430 days for the prophecy, plus he would need time to prepare as well. So it could not be possible that the starting year was a 12-month year. So now let's try the test for the 13th-month year to start. So we will start with 384 divided by 29.5 equals 13. And of course, that's 384 days divided by the 29.5, which is the time it takes for a lunation, and we get 13 months. So he started in the 4th month, so therefore we have 3 times 29.5 equals 88.5 days. So we're going to minus the 88.5 days from the 384 to leave us with 295.5 days, which equates to 10 months. Then we're going to minus the first 4 days of the starting month, and that is 295 minus 4 leaves us with 291.5. Now the 6th month and less the 23.5 days of the following year. So we're going to have 177 minus the 23.5, and that gives us 153.5. And again, it is 177. That's 6 months into the second year. and we minus 23.5, which is the amount of days which would have been left in the rest of the 6 months, because remember that he was sitting up in his house on the 5th day of the 6th month. So we don't need the rest of that month. So that leaves 153.5 days. That's the amount of time into the second year. Okay, so now our total number of days is 291.5 in the first year and 153.5 in the second year, for a grand total of 445 days total. And this is with the starting year being a 13-month year. So this alone pretty much proves it. He has the clear 430 days in this, as you can see. So now Ezekiel can complete his instructions to lie on his side for 390 days and then another 40 days, for a total of 430 days, with even time to spare to prepare his victuals for the ordeal. So we can even check out the prep time. So we have the 445 days minus 430 days for the prophecy. He has a clear 15 days, that's 2 weeks, to prepare his victuals. Now, upon this basis, we can see that the prophecy did indeed span 16 months and not 14, as is the popular belief. That is, 445 divided by 29.5 will give us 15.085 months. And that, remember that he didn't start exactly the first day of the 4th month, and he didn't end exactly the end of the 6th month. He started it would have been, he received the prophecy on the 4th day of the 4th month, and he would have ended the 5th day of the 6th month in the second year. So it would have spanned 15.085 months, approximately 16 months. Okay, so I have shown you the calculations, I have shown you the Metonic cycle, and all of this just goes to clearly show you that 13-month years are indeed biblical, because if a 13-month year was not included in the starting point of Ezekiel's prophecy, he would not have been able to start in the 4th month and end in the 6th month of the following year. So the calculations are clear, numbers do not lie. It's safe to say that 13-month years are naturally occurring, but they're also biblical. It is right there in the Bible, line upon line and precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. And with that, we have come to the end of this teaching. So this is how we account for leap years on the biblical sacred calendar. And that's basically all there is to know in terms of how the calendar is constructed. Guys, it's so simple, even a child can understand it. Nothing difficult in it, no difficult calculations, no need to use apocryphal books or pseudepigrahal books. Everything to construct the biblical sacred calendar is outlined right there in the canon of scripture that we call the Holy Bible. As I've shown you from the first video, it is all right there in the Bible. I recommend that you go back and watch the videos from the first one, the second one, to this one to get a full understanding of how the biblical sacred calendar of Yahweh Elohim is constructed. I welcome your feedback, so please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of this teaching. Now also remember to download your free copy of the Biblical Sacred Calendar of Yahweh Elohim from our website. I'll leave the link in the description. Love you guys. Until next time, this is Yolette. Bye-bye.